Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today to hear all about life on board Amtrak with Amtrak Vacations. I want to go ahead and introduce myself as your webinar host. I am Jackie Malecki, and I am excited because at the end of this presentation, I'll be giving away a $100 Amtrak Vacations gift certificate to one lucky attendee. And all you have to do to win is just be present at the end of the webinar. And stay tuned, because at the end I'll also be announcing some exclusive discounts just for all of you for taking the time to join us today. Now, to book any of these packages you hear about or any of our rail vacations, you can give us a call at 1-800-AMTRAK2 or call your local travel agent. Now, if you do have any questions during this presentation, please feel free to type them into your questions box right on the right-hand side of your screen, and we'll make sure to leave a little bit of time at the end to get to some of those questions. So let's get right to it. So why should you travel with Amtrak Vacations? Well, first of all, it's a bucket list experience to travel by train. You're going to see some beautiful sights in parts of the country you would never see by flying or driving. There's room to roam on board. You're not stuck in your seat like you are in an airline or on a car. You can get up, walk around, maybe go to the dining car, the observation car to take in all those beautiful sights. It's less hassle when you book with us because we take care of everything for you, not just your rail, but also your hotel accommodations in the different cities you're going to, your sightseeing tours and attractions for what you'll want to do while you're there. The train has city-to-city service. What I mean by this is the train will pick you up right in the heart of one city and bring you right to the next, right to downtown, city center, or right to the national parks. There's no easier way. You can satisfy your hunger on board. On most of the long-distance cars, there's a dining car on board, and all the trains also have a snack car if you just want to grab a quick bite. And we also have lots of flexibility with our packages. Most of them have daily departures. We can also customize anything to fit right into your vacation needs that you have. So where do we go with Amtrak Vacations? Well, I always love showing this map because a lot of people don't realize the extent that Amtrak travels to. There's so many possibilities for your next trip. And one thing I do want to mention and point out too is you can choose to start your trip from any of the 500 Amtrak stations, but you also have the option to fly to the start of the package, train city to city, and then fly home. So it all depends on where you're going to, how much time you have for your vacation. But now it's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker today, who's here to tell you all about life on board Amtrak and some of the great packages that we have to offer. Colleen McCarthy.
Thank you so much, Jackie, and thank you everybody for joining us today. I'm really excited to be here to talk with you about life on board Amtrak with Amtrak Vacations. I've been very lucky and been able to travel on Amtrak quite a bit myself, and I'm really excited to be able to share some of those experiences with you today. So Amtrak, as Jackie mentioned, travels all across our country here, so you can visit really basically any destination that you're interested in the United States, and we've got some really excellent, really beautiful and scenic routes for you to travel. Now, when you folks are traveling on board Amtrak, you have several different choices as far as your accommodations go. So we're going to start right here looking at the coach accommodations on board Amtrak. And I always like to point out to people right away, very important to me, how much legroom you have there in the coach seating on board Amtrak. You can see in this picture here, there's a tremendous amount of legroom there in the coach seating on board Amtrak. Coach seating is very comfortable, very wide, very comfortable seats, and all the seats there on coach are 2 seats, and then the aisle, and then 2 seats. So you never get stuck with that dreaded middle seat, as you often do when you're flying. As you can see here, too, we have some beautiful large windows for you to take in some of that spectacular scenery as you travel across country. Plenty of storage there in coach as well. And if you do travel in the coach seating on Amtrak, you are welcome to visit both the snack car the dining car, and the lounge car as well. So you do have that room-to-room that Jackie mentioned. You can get up and move about the train at your leisure. But for any of you folks who are thinking about doing one of our overnight trips, Amtrak does offer a few different sleeping accommodations on board the train as well. So the first sleeper that we're going to look at here is called a roomette. Roomette is designed for 1 or 2 passengers. As you can see, it's 2 chairs which face each other during the day. You've got that big, beautiful picture window to take in that scenery, and a little fold-out table there to play some cards or set up your laptops. The roomettes do have outlets in every roomette, so you can plug in there while you're traveling. Comes with, some refreshments there, some bottles of water. Very nice, cozy trip in the roomette there for you. In the evening, when you folks do want to relax and get to bed, the seats fold down into a bottom bunk, and then you have a top bunk that folds out as well. So again, we'll sleep 2 people there in the roomette accommodations on board Amtrak. Then, of course, if you guys were looking for a little bit more space, Amtrak does offer the bedroom accommodations as well. The bedrooms on board Amtrak will sleep 2 adults, possibly 2 adults and a small child there. Seating during the day, you've got a larger love seat style seat and then a chair across from it. And again, you've got that big, beautiful window. One of the really nice features of the bedroom accommodations on Amtrak is that you do have your own little private toilet and shower style facilities there. Private restroom for you with the bedrooms on board Amtrak and your own little sink in the room as well. In the evening, again, this is going to fold down into bunk beds for you. You've got a larger bunk on the bottom and then a smaller bunk up on the top as well. So you could choose to take the roomette or the bedroom. Those are the most popular sleeping accommodations that Amtrak does offer. But they do have a few other choices for you depending on your needs. So for example, Amtrak does offer a handicapped accessible room on board the train, which does have a handicapped accessible restroom attached. So we do have that available for you. Now on their Superliner equipment, which is mostly what we're going to be looking at today, basically any travel from the Mississippi westward, Amtrak does have a family room available as well, which will sleep 2 adults and 2 children if you were thinking of going on a nice family trip, maybe to the Grand Canyon or somewhere like that. And you do also have the ability to combine 2 of the larger bedrooms that we saw previously, take the wall out in between them and make one very large room for you. Depending on what your needs are, we can accommodate them there on board Amtrak for you in the accommodations. Now, no matter whether you have sleeping accommodations or whether you folks are in coach seats, you will have access to Amtrak's lounge car. So the observation car, everybody, is a really important feature of life on board Amtrak. So this is featured on any of Amtrak's long-distance trains. So all the routes we're going to look at today do feature this observation car. As you can see here, it has some really nice comfy seats which face out to these floor-to-ceiling windows. So you can absolutely see some of that breathtaking scenery as you travel through. You can see the Rocky Mountains or the American Southwest or the California coast. This is the reason why people travel on Amtrak, is to see parts of the country, as Jackie mentioned, that you are not able to see by train, plane or by car. So you guys can relax in the lounge car. Everyone has access to this car here. There are outlets again in the car if you wanted to plug in there or just take in the view. Now on the Superliner equipment, which is the double-decker trains, you'll have this observation car up top, and then typically the snack car is down on the lower level. So again, if you guys wanted a snack in between meal times, you could grab a muffin, some chips, a salad, soda, whatever you're looking for there in the snack car. Here's another shot of the observation car. One of the things that I really like about traveling on board Amtrak is the social aspect of it. You meet some amazing people when you're traveling on Amtrak, your fellow passengers, and everybody is generally, really friendly and really nice to talk to. Last time I was traveling on the Southwest Chief, I met a wonderful woman who is returning from LA back to the Chicago area. She had been out visiting her grandkids, and she just had some spectacular stories to tell there. So that's one of the things that I really enjoy about Amtrak, is in the lounge car or in the dining car, you really meet some very interesting people. Dining on the train, I highly recommend it. If you guys do have one of the sleeper cars, so if you have the roomette or the bedroom or the family room or the handicapped room, the meals on board the train are included for you. So that's a really important feature, I think, traveling with Amtrak, a really great perk of having one of those sleeping compartments is that your meals on board the train are included for you. So anytime you are traveling on the train during mealtime, breakfast, lunch, or dinner, that meal is included for you. If you guys are traveling in coach, though, you can still visit the dining car, no problem. You know, you would just purchase what you want to eat off the menu, and you'd be all set there. So again, you've got those beautiful windows there in the dining car. Amtrak is kind of neat with the dining. You know, you do have about 4 people will fit at one of those tables. So sometimes if you are traveling as a party of 1 or a party of 2, you'll be seated with another group of people, which is a really great way to meet some of your fellow passengers as well. Food is spectacular. I can personally vouch for the steak. It's my favorite meal on Amtrak. Now you guys will get a menu, and you can choose, you know, what you want to eat off the menu. They do have vegetarian options typically. If you guys did have any dietary restrictions, you just want to let us know about it ahead of time, and the folks on Amtrak, the wait staff and the chefs, can work with you, you know, on what those restrictions might be there for you. Now I'm going to highlight today some of our packages that travel on some of Amtrak's most popular routes. So you guys may or may not be familiar with some of these routes. They're some of the most beautiful and most scenic routes that Amtrak offers, so I'm going to look at some of those trips today. The first one is one of my personal favorites. It's the Glacier National Park Express. Now this trip here starts in Chicago. You do 2 nights there, and then you get that overnight experience traveling on board Amtrak overnight to Glacier National Park in Montana. Beautiful scenery there, guys. You spend 3 nights in Glacier National Park, and then you take another overnight train out to Seattle. The package has 2 nights in Seattle, and you finish there in Seattle, but we can certainly get you the train back home, or you can fly home, as Jackie mentioned, depending on what works best for you. One thing I will say at the outset, guys, is that all of our packages are customizable, so they're independent travel, meaning that we can help you customize this however you want to arrange your trip here. So our Glacier National Park Express features the Empire Builder route. That is the train you guys will be traveling on. It stretches from Chicago all the way to Seattle, and of course we have you stop at Glacier Park in the middle there. Chicago, the Windy City, as you may or may not know, is one of Amtrak's major hubs. It's a great place to start any train journey. It's a really fantastic city, lots to see and do, great food, great architecture. We do include here for you in Chicago one of the architecture cruises, so you can get out on the river a little bit before you get on board the Empire Builder. Now this train is spectacular. It's actually, you leave there from Chicago at 2:15 in the afternoon, so you get on board the train, you settle in before you have dinner. Now somebody will come around and take your reservations for dinner. So lunch and dinner on board Amtrak, typically you'll make a reservation when you get on board the train. And then when it's time for you to eat, they'll actually call you down to the dining car. It's kind of a really neat experience there for you. So you'll have a reservation for 6 o'clock or maybe 6:30, 7 o'clock, whatever, you know, works best for you. You guys can sit back and enjoy the view until dinner time. After dinner on the Empire Builder, on your first day on the train there, maybe relax in the lounge car and watch the sunset as you head into the Great American West. This is a spectacular route, guys, because you will wake up the next morning to the North Dakota Plains before you travel into Big Sky country in Montana and arrive in Glacier National Park in the early evening. Very conveniently located for you too, Glacier National Park. We have you typically stay there at the Glacier Park Lodge, which is just 208 steps from the train station. We've counted, don't worry. So very close. You can walk right there from the train station in just about a minute. Glacier National Park is the crown of the continent, you guys. This is one of the most amazing national parks in our country. They have just a dramatic glacial landscape here for you. And we have you spend 3 nights in Glacier Park. So we include 2 absolutely fantastic sightseeing tours for you there in Glacier. So the first is the boat cruise. We get you out on the lake there to take in some of that beautiful alpine lakes. And then we do a full day tour called the Big Sky Circle Tour, where you wind up through the mountains driving on those windy roads. And you really get to see some amazing, amazing sights there. Now you folks will leave Glacier Park in the evening on your way west to Seattle. And this actually has some of the best scenery on this whole route, because you guys will climb through the Cascade Mountains, see the Columbia River Gorge, and then finish out there in Seattle with the Puget Sound. So make sure you get your spot reserved that morning in the sightseeing car before you head into Seattle so you can see some of that scenery as you go through. This tour here finishes up in Seattle where we have admission, of course, to the Space Needle and also a hop-on, hop-off tour for you so you can see the best sights of the city on your own there, whatever's important to you. And again, that Glacier National Park Express is a 10-day trip, traveling on board Amtrak's amazing Empire Builder, starting out in Chicago, seeing Glacier National Park, which is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, I really feel, and then ending up in Seattle there for you. Next, if you guys are interested in national parks, is this one you're going to want to pay close attention to because Peaks to Pacific, this package here, does include 3 national parks in one trip. We have you guys start here in Denver, Colorado for 2 nights. You head out to Salt Lake City and then up to Yellowstone National Park and finish out in San Francisco where you take a tour to Yosemite National Park. Now when you start out there in Denver, we include a tour to Rocky Mountain National Park. So you guys can take in those mountain peaks. Even in July, there is snow on the mountain peaks there in the Rockies for you in Denver. So you start out there in Denver with that amazing scenery before boarding Amtrak's California Zephyr train. So the California Zephyr, guys, is one of Amtrak's most scenic and most historic routes. You guys will have an all-day journey from Denver to Salt Lake so you can really take in some of that spectacular countryside and that landscape here that we're so proud of here in America. You guys will depart Denver in the morning. You've got an all-day sunlit journey into Salt Lake City, climbing through the Great Plains into the Rocky Mountains, where you guys are going to go through some really neat rock tunnels. You guys could possibly see some excellent wildlife there. You actually reach an altitude of over 9,000 feet as you climb into the Rocky Mountains. And then you're going to sneak along the Colorado River and into Utah, where you're going to see some spectacular scenery there as well, before arriving in Salt Lake City that evening. You'll get to Salt Lake City and settle in there before you have your trip up to Yellowstone National Park. Of course, in Salt Lake City, we do include a tour for you as well, so you'll get a narrated tour where you can see the sights and history of the city of Salt Lake before heading up to Yellowstone National Park. Now, Yellowstone National Park is America's first national park, known worldwide for its thermal features, including spectacular geysers and an abundance of wildlife. So you can see bison, wolves, bear, elk, all kinds of different things there in Yellowstone National Park. Then you folks are going to take the train from Salt Lake on back to San Francisco. Now this is an overnight trip here, so we've got a lovely picture of Jackie when she was on the train overnight in a roomette. Picture on the left is the roomette set up for the evening, so you can see the bunk bed style. You'll get breakfast and dinner on board that train as you head out to the West Coast, to San Francisco, city on the bay. From San Francisco, one of my favorite places, you guys. San Francisco is phenomenal. From San Francisco, we're going to have you do a day tour out to Yosemite National Park. Now, in Yosemite, you guys will see dense forests, some truly giant trees. We've got these amazing mountains and some cascading waterfalls. It's just a beautiful trip. It's a day trip. We take you out there from San Francisco. So you actually get to go through some really nice California scenery as well on your way to Yosemite. You spend several hours there in the park, and then we'll bring you right back to San Francisco as well. Now this tour here is a 10-day trip that we offer, Peaks to Pacific. And as I said, you see 3 national parks on board this trip. Does start in Denver and end in San Francisco. And again, we can get you to or from however you want to go. And again, it's customizable there if you want to spend an extra night in San Francisco at the end or whatever you need to do. We're going to make that happen for you there. Now this trip, the next trip here, is called the Grand Canyon Discovery. Keeping with our national park theme, it is the centennial anniversary of the national parks this year, everybody, so it's a great time to get out and see your parks. I was very lucky and had the opportunity to do a trip very similar to this recently here, going out to the Grand Canyon on Amtrak Southwest Chief. Trip here starts in Chicago for 2 nights, and then we have you head out to the southwest to Santa Fe before the main attraction up to the Grand Canyon, and finishing there in Flagstaff, where you do a day trip out to Sedona and see the red rocks of Sedona. Again, we have you start in Chicago, and while you're there, we've got a hop-on, hop-off sightseeing path for you to get around the city, see Navy Pier, maybe take in a Cubs game, whatever you want to do. These are independent trips, So you have that flexibility, as Jackie mentioned, to customize them however is going to work best for you. Before you folks board the Southwest Chief in the afternoon again. So Amtrak does design these trips, you guys, so that you are traveling in maximum daylight hours. So this trip is going to leave Chicago in the afternoon, grab some dinner, settle down for the night, wake up the next morning as you start to go through the Great Plains and then into the Wild West. Really great experience on board the Southwest Chief Fair. You can see we've got some pictures from my trip here. Myself and a couple of the girls from the office had the opportunity to do this trip here. As I said, I can vouch for the steak. It was excellent, perfectly cooked to order on board the train there. We had a great time in the lounge car and at dinner as well. Before arriving in Santa Fe, New Mexico, which is a neat little town, really fantastic history there. We do a walking tour of Santa Fe included with this trip before we head on to the main attraction, taking the Southwest Chief again out to Williams, Arizona, so that we can go up to the Grand Canyon, which is just amazing. The Grand Canyon, if you have not been there, add it to your list immediately. Even if you have been there, add it back to your list because you probably haven't been by train. And that is the best way to get to the Grand Canyon because we actually have you travel on a steam engine train, a historic steam engine train, you guys, up to the canyon itself. And as with all of our packages, we really take care of everything for you. We set up the trains, we set up the hotels in this package, and you get breakfast and you get a dinner, lunch along with your tour, and we really will set everything up here for you to go see the Grand Canyon, which is one of the most amazing sites in our entire country. And of course, while you're there, we do include a tour for you. Before we have you head back down to Flagstaff, and from Flagstaff, Arizona, we have you take a day tour out to see the Red Rocks of Sedona. This is really neat. You actually get in an open Jeep and you go rock climbing in your Jeep, which is really an amazing experience. Of all the trips I've done, this is one of my favorite highlights, is that rock climbing tour in Sedona. Amazing scenery. I have some beautiful pictures. This is one of them here. You can really just see so much on board this trip here. This trip here, again, Grand Canyon Discovery, guys, it's a 10-day trip starting in Chicago, going out through the Southwest, hitting some of the most amazing sort of desert Southwest scenery there in the Wild West, out to the Grand Canyon. And a little bit of a change of pace now here. We're going to look at sunny California. So the Californian, I know, is one of Jackie's favorite trips. She and I have both had the opportunity to take this similar trip here, starting in San Francisco for 4 nights in San Francisco because we have you do some amazing day tours. Again, you get to do that day tour out to Yosemite. And for those of you who are fans of wine, we have a trip out to Napa and Sonoma Valley as part of the Californian as well. Before you take the Coast Starlight, which is arguably Amtrak's most beautiful route, down the coast of California to Los Angeles for 2 nights. And then the Pacific Surfliner, another coastal train between Los Angeles and San Diego. San Francisco, amazing city, one of my favorite places, I think I mentioned before. Just so much to see and do in San Francisco, and the people are so friendly and nice. While you're in the city itself, we do have a hop-on, hop-off tour for you, and we include dinner there as well, right down on Pier 39. Then we have you take that day trip out to Yosemite National Park. So beautiful, amazing, spectacular scenery there in Yosemite. And then we also include the trip out to Napa Valley. Now, not only do you guys get the trip out to Napa, you do have wine tastings included with this trip, which is a really nice feature. You get to visit some of the most famous and most beautiful wineries there in California, of course famous worldwide, Napa and Sonoma for their wine. That's included for you with this trip. Before you board the Coast Starlight in the morning and you have an all-day trip down to Los Angeles. Now this is some absolutely unbelievable scenery, as you can see here. Traveling on board this train from San Francisco to Los Angeles is one of the highlights, I think, of everybody's bucket list for Amtrak here, being able to see some of that coastal scenery, which you would never see from a car. We actually had a gentleman on one of our trips who had spoken to us and said that he lived in California his whole life and he saw views from the train that he had never seen before in Southern California there. One of my favorite features is to make sure you schedule your dinner for your dinner reservation in the dining car at sunset. So I had that opportunity to watch the sunset over the water as I ate my dinner. And of course, you do have the option of getting some wine on board the train as well. So we've got some of our friends here who took the trip with a lovely bottle of wine there in Coach Theory on board the Coast Starlight train. Now the Coast Starlight train is going to bring you into Los Angeles, and we've got you there for 2 days. One thing I want to mention at this point is that Los Angeles has what's called Metropolitan Lounge there in Los Angeles Union Station. Beautiful Art Deco station, by the way. And this is a feature that Amtrak offers in many of their major stations. So Chicago, New Orleans, Washington, D.C., many of the stations across the country have a lounge where if you folks are a sleeper car or first-class passenger, you can relax and wait for your train in this exclusive lounge. Lots of outlets, there's a TV, and some light refreshments available for you as well. So that's definitely something that you want to take advantage of if you folks are going to be using the sleeper accommodations on board any of these overnight trips. Here's the Pacific Surfliner train for you. This trip, again, from Los Angeles to San Diego is one of the most scenic routes in the country. This is a view that I took right from my window on board the train, so you can see you go by some really amazing spots there as well. And we have you finish out in San Diego where you have 2 nights. While you're there, you've got the hop-on, hop-off pass. Again, you can take it all over the city. You can go to the zoo, Balboa Park, really anything you want to do, Old Town San Diego, and we do include a dinner for you there right on the water in San Diego as well. 9-day trip to California, and really it's one of the best that California has to offer, and it really highlights that Coast Starlight trip by giving you all day on the train to experience that. It's really wonderful. Now, of course, you've seen a lot of these routes by now, and you're thinking, Colleen, I would like to take all of them. Let's just do all the train. We actually have a whole lot of packages that will work for you. We've got a whole lot of packages called Rail Experience packages, which are really designed for you guys who are the train buffs. You know, you've seen these routes, you see the scenery, and you want to travel multiple routes in one trip. Our best-selling Northern Rail Experience here, this is one of our most popular packages that we offer, starts in Chicago and takes you straight across to Seattle. So that's 2 overnights on the Empire Builder to Seattle. And then you take the train from Seattle overnight on the Coast Starlight that we just saw down to San Francisco. Do 2 nights there, and then you do 2 nights on the California Zephyr all the way back to Chicago. So you really hit 3 of Amtrak's major routes on this trip here. Again, starting in beautiful Chicago before heading out on the Empire Builder across that northern Rocky Mountain scenery there, the Great Plains, Big Sky Country in Montana, Cascade Mountains, of course, before you arrive in Seattle, where you spend the night before boarding the train to San Francisco. And again, that's the Coast Starlight train, which is one of Amtrak's premier routes. I should point out, for anybody that does have a sleeper accommodation or first class on the Coast Starlight train, you have access on this train to the parlor car, which is exclusive for the Coast Starlight train. The parlor car, again, just for those sleeper car passengers, so it's a great perk of having those accommodations, is a second lounge car. Basically, it's a special lounge car just for the sleeper car passengers. They do wine tastings in the parlor car. And they actually also have a movie theater on the lower level. So this is a Superliner train, guys. It's a double-decker train. On the lower level of the parlor car, there is a little movie theater. So Amtrak will show a film each night that you are on board the Coast Starlight train. So that's a really neat feature for the Coast Starlight, exclusive to that train. So definitely worth doing. Arriving in San Francisco, we have you guys doing a hop-on, hop-off tour so you can see the city. And we do include a tour here as well out to the Muir Woods, which is a spectacular grove of redwoods just outside the city there, as well as a sightseeing cruise so you get out on the bay. Then we have you board Amtrak again to take the California Zephyr all the way back to Chicago. So as we looked at before, this is when you're going to go through Utah, Colorado, the Great Plains, you know, just really see that whole middle of the country. That's absolutely amazing scenery there. So 9-day trip here, Chicago out to Seattle on the Empire Builder, down to San Francisco on the Coast Starlight, and then on back to Chicago via the California Zephyr. And no presentation on Life on Board Amtrak would be complete without the city of New Orleans. How many train routes are famous enough to have a song about them? In case you didn't know, the song is about the train routes, about the city itself. The train from Chicago to New Orleans is called the City of New Orleans route. And this is one of my favorite trips too. Had the opportunity of doing this one last year. It's called Jazz, Blues, and Rock and Roll. Starts with 2 nights in Chicago. You get the overnight train on down to Memphis, Tennessee, where you spend 2 nights before taking a daytime train from Memphis to New Orleans. Can't say enough about New Orleans, you guys. It's an amazing, amazing city. And you see some really beautiful scenery on board the train, actually, as you come into New Orleans. You go through some of the lakes and things there. A little bit of a swampy bayou feel. It's really neat on board that train. Again, we have you start out in Chicago. Like I said before, it's one of Amtrak's major hubs. You can get a deep dish pizza. You can do a lot of things there in Chicago before you take the overnight train on down to Memphis. And again, here I'm going to highlight the dining on board the train. It's really fantastic. And if you do take one of those sleeping compartments, you folks do have access to the dining car. One of the neat things about the city of New Orleans is that for this train, you actually have the opportunity to board up to 1 hour early to make sure that you get dinner before the train departs. The train departs in the evening about 8 p.m., so you can actually board as early as 7 to make sure you have dinner before the train gets rolling. Then we get to Memphis, which is a really fun city, especially for any of you who are music fans. In Memphis, we do include a day tour out to Graceland, so you can see Elvis's home there. And we have dinner for you at a great restaurant right down on Beale Street. So Beale Street, for those of you who don't know, is the music district in Memphis, so you can get a bite to eat on us and take in some of the live local music there before you take the City of New Orleans train on down to Chicago. So, to New Orleans. Which, as I said, it's a daytime train. You leave Memphis in the morning and you arrive in New Orleans early afternoon. So it's pretty perfect timing there for you. And on board that train, of course, you can relax, spend some time in the lounge, play some games, watch a movie on your laptop, just watch the scenery go by. We have 3 nights for you in New Orleans with this trip. So we include a cruise out on the Mississippi River aboard a real paddle wheel boat. You also have a sightseeing city tour and a jazz brunch at Quarter Two Sisters Restaurant, which is right in the heart of the French Quarter, and does include a jazz band playing live for you throughout your brunch, which is pretty neat, I have to say. So these are just some of the packages that we have time to talk about today. If you are interested at all in any of these trips, definitely give us a call. We also have so many more different trips available to you as well. Amtrak has routes, like I said, cross-country, and pretty much any route you're looking at, we have a trip that will feature that route. So definitely, this is not it. Don't by any means think that these are the only trips we have. This is just an extremely small sampling of some of the really spectacular packages that we have available. So I'm going to turn it back over to Jackie now, and she can tell you a little bit more information on how to actually go ahead and book these trips and some of the fantastic discounts that we have to offer for you guys today.
Well, thank you so much for that, Colleen, and for all that great information all about the rail experience and just highlighting some of our most popular Amtrak Vacations packages. To check out all the packages that we have, you can visit amtrakvacations.com. We have over 300 to choose from, so many destinations. So again, check all those out at amtrakvacations.com. To go ahead and book any of our trips, though, you can give us a call at 1-800-AMTRAK-2. That's 1-800-268-7252. You can book online at amtrakvacations.com, and you can also reach out to your local travel agent. Now, we do have some great discounts to offer on the Amtrak rail portion of your trip. There's one for anyone a part of Veterans Advantage. Seniors, so anyone 62 or older, gets a 15% discount on the train. There's a great AAA discount. One for children. Children on Amtrak are ages 2 to 12, and they receive 50% off the adult rail fare. And there's also a discount for active military in their families. But what I'm really excited to tell you all about today is an exclusive discount just for you for taking the time and joining us today. And we're offering a $250 discount per couple on select independent rail vacations. So those are our multi-city trips that we have to offer. For this savings, you just want to book by August 3rd, so you have 2 weeks to book, and that promo code is Webinar July. Again, that's $250 off per couple or $125 per person. And this is an exclusive discount. You won't find this anywhere else. It's not available online, just for all of you, as our way of saying thank you for joining us today. Now, I know it's a lot of information that we gave you today with some of the different packages, the discounts there. So there is a great handout you can click on right on the right-hand side of your screen there. That'll have all the information on it. And I do see some questions coming in during the presentation. But if anyone else does have any questions, we do have some time, so please feel free to type those right into your questions box there, and Colleen and I will answer those questions for you. But before I go ahead and do that, I do want to announce our lucky $100 Amtrak Vacations gift certificate winner, and that winner is Lee Lorino. So congratulations, Lee. You now have $100 to put towards your next Amtrak Vacations trip. So let's go ahead and let's get to some of those great questions. So we have one from Edward. Can a wheelchair get on an Amtrak car?
Perfect. Thank you so much, Edward, for listening in. And to answer your question, yes. So Amtrak does have accessible accommodations for you if you're traveling on an overnight train, and they do have accessible seating as well if you're just going to be taking a day train with us.
So we have a question from Lynn. How do you determine what type of cars and amenities are on a specific train? Specifically, how do you determine if a train has a dome car?
Great question, Lynn. So as I mentioned, all of the long-distance trains on board Amtrak will have the lounge car, the observation car that you're looking for there, as well as the full dining car. So basically, that's kind of how you figured out any long-distance train will have those amenities. Certainly, you can give us a call, and any of our vacation specialists will be able to review the route with you and let you know what is available on board.
So we have a question from Carol. Does the observation car stay full? What's to keep people from staying there instead of their seats?
Great question, Carol. So actually, that's a really good question and some, of a concern that some people have about the observation car. But I can tell you from experience, people really do get up and move. If you think about it, there are several different reservation times for lunch, so people are always getting up and going to the dining car. Same thing at dinner. People are always going up and going to the dining car. If they do have their own room on board the train, certainly they may be relaxing there as well. So there's a pretty constant movement, pretty good chance of getting a seat there in the observation car.
Yeah, just to elaborate on that too, I've taken the train myself several times in the long distance trains, and I love hanging out in the observation car, but I've also never had an issue, trying to get a seat, because there's just a constant flow of people that are going through. So you definitely will be able to grab a seat there and check out those beautiful views. So we have a question from Barb. If I want to customize a package, as in by adding one extra day at 3 of the stops, do I still get the advantage of the cost savings of the original package, understanding I would pay for the hotel for the extra days? Yeah, so definitely for something like that, Barb, if you are looking to add any of the hotels on, we would just add that right onto the package. So you'd just be paying for the extra days for those hotel accommodations. So for anyone that is interested in the pricing for any of our packages, it does vary on the time that you're looking to travel, the days, things like that. So certainly give us a call or reach out to your local travel agent, and we can go ahead and put that pricing together for you. We can also still apply any of those everyday discounts on the Amtrak rail portion to any of your train there. We have a question from Ricky. Are all meals served in the dining car, or if you have a roomette, can they be served there?
Sure thing. Excellent question. So typically folks will travel to the dining car to have their meal, but if you do have any concerns about that, they can serve the meal in the roomette for you. You just have to speak with your sleeper car attendant to get that arranged.
We have a question from Amy. Do you have any East Coast packages?
Oh, fantastic question. We actually do have quite a few East Coast packages as well. We have trips Boston, New York, Washington, D.C., down to Florida, the Carolinas. So whatever you're looking for, more than likely we do have a trip there as well.
So we have a question from Monique. Are we able to watch this webinar again? So Monique, that's a great question. For anyone that maybe missed the beginning of it or wants to go back and watch it, we do record all of our webinar presentations, so this session is being recorded. You will be able to watch it on our blog at amtrakvacations.com/blog. It will be posted at the end of the day today. On that handout too at the bottom, it has the link where you can certainly go back and watch this presentation here. So we have a question from Paige. What's the best trip for a 13 and 10-year-old?
That is also a fantastic question, and it kind of depends, on what the interests of your children are there. Definitely, we have a lot of families take trips to the Grand Canyon. I think that one is particularly fun and exciting. You get to see the amazing scenery of the Grand Canyon, but you also get to do the steam engine train, which is really neat there out of Williams. They actually have a Wild West cowboy show ahead of time. And then, as I mentioned, the Jeep tour in Sedona is pretty fantastic as well. You get out on that open Jeep and go rock climbing, which is pretty adventurous and quite exciting.
So we have a question from Catherine. When can I book dining reservations? How and when do I book a seat in the observation car?
Sure thing, Catherine. So you actually don't need to book dining reservations until you actually get on the train. So somebody will come through the train. If you're in one of the sleepers, it will be your sleeper car attendant. If you're in coach, somebody from the dining car will come through and just take reservations for everyone. Same thing with the observation car. There actually are no reservations that you need for the observation car. It's just first come, first serve, and as we mentioned, people travel in and out of there all day on the train.
So we have a question from Gwendolyn. Is luggage always handled? I saw some that trips did not have baggage storage.
That's a fantastic question. So Amtrak does have checked baggage available for many of their stations, but there are some stations where they do not have checked baggage available. So if they have checked baggage available for your trip, say from Chicago to Seattle, checked baggage is available, you would check it at the station in Chicago, and you wouldn't see your checked bag again until you arrive in Seattle, similar to when you check a bag on a flight. So you'd want to bring anything you need for the overnight, change of clothes, toothbrush, in a carry-on bag there. For those trips that don't have checked baggage available for every station, simply you would load your luggage on the luggage rack or overhead if it's smaller, and again, probably bring a carry-on for the overnight portion.
So we have a question from Marshall. Does the roomette on the Cardinal have a toilet and sink?
That is a great question. So, Marshall, depends on the equipment, that they're running there. I believe that the Cardinal is a Viewliner train. Of course, I'd have to take a double check on that. If they do have a Viewliner equipment on the train, it does have a toilet and sink in the room. The Superliner trains that we looked at throughout this presentation, which run, like I said, from Mississippi westward typically, those double-decker trains, there is no toilet or sink in the roomette, but they're right down the hall.
So we have a question from Michael. Do you have a brochure that shows the rates for the different packages? Can it be sent by mail? So that's a great question, Michael. And to everyone there, yes, we do have an Amtrak Vacations brochure. It highlights just some of our most popular packages. Again, really to view all the packages, they'll be online at amtrakvacations.com. And of course, we can always customize anything. But for anyone that does want a brochure to take a look and kind of flip through the different ideas there, you can order it online. If you go to amtrakvacations.com, you'll see a brochure tab there. You just want to click on that, put in your mailing information, and we can certainly send that right over to you. We have a question from Nick. Can you start a package from the St. Louis Depot?
Yeah, absolutely, Nick. You can certainly start from St. Louis. Amtrak has a great depot there. You can take the train from St. Louis to Chicago if you wanted to do any of our trips that start in Chicago, or if you wanted to get on the road right from St. Louis, you could head out west from there as well. So we could certainly customize something for you to begin and or end there in St. Louis.
We have a question from Nyla. Children under 2, is there a fee?
Great question. So on Amtrak, children under 2 are considered infants, and they do ride free on board Amtrak. Just so you know, they would be in your lap, so they wouldn't be guaranteed a seat if they're an infant.
So we have a question from Marilyn. So just asking again, can I see this webinar on replay? I had an important call, missed the last 10 minutes. So again, yes, this webinar is being recorded, and you can certainly watch it at amtrakvacations.com/blog. Question from Susan. Do the trips include hotel accommodations at the stops?
Oh, perfect. Yes, absolutely, Susan. So any of our trips where we include stops for you, we do include the hotel accommodations with that package, as well as the sightseeing that we mentioned as well.
So question from Michael. How many options are there on sleeping cars for single travelers?
Sure. So, Michael, the roomette is a great choice for a single traveler. That's the one where it had the two chairs facing each other. Certainly, if you're a solo traveler, you could stretch out, kick your feet up on the other chair. Certainly, though, you could book the bedroom as a solo traveler as well. If you preferred a little bit more space and your private restroom facilities, you could certainly book the bedroom as a single traveler as well. You would have the room all to yourself.
So we have a question from Jovetta. When you book a trip that includes some meals in cities like Chicago, how do you get the meal vouchers?
Oh, perfect. So, Jovetta, we actually will send you all of your travel documents together, so that would be included in your travel document packet.
We have a question from Cheryl. I'm interested from Chicago to Glacier National Park, but then to Portland and down to Chicago. Do I just get in touch with a travel planner? So certainly for something like that, Cheryl, if you do have a local travel agent that you work with, you can certainly reach out to your travel agent. She will be able to help you out, put this package together for you, and customize it any way that you would like. I know Colleen talked about our package doing Chicago, Glacier, then Seattle. We can certainly do it from Glacier to Portland instead for you. You can also reach out to us here and give us a call. So either way, we can certainly help you put something together for your package there. Question from Camille. Do any of the packages include parking in the train station garages?
Great question. No, the packages themselves don't include the parking, but every station is different. So if you were traveling to your home city station, we could certainly get that information on parking for you if it's available.
We have a question from Donna. If we wanted to book the California tours but start in San Diego and end in San Francisco, would that work?
Absolutely, that would work. So we do have trains departing several times from San Diego up to Los Angeles, and then the Coast Starlight again leaves Los Angeles in the morning and arrives in San Francisco in the evening. So you would still see all that great coastal scenery in the daytime.
We have a question from David. Can you compare winter versus summer travels on these vacation routes for train crowding and scenery?
Sure thing. So, David, obviously the summer is the most popular time to travel. People have vacation time and kids are out of school. You do see some of the beautiful scenery there in the summer, but the winter scenery is spectacular as well. You see the snowy mountain peaks going through the Rockies. Definitely you may want to look at spring or fall as well. Those are kind of good shoulder seasons there for a little bit less people.
We have a question from Camille. Are meals included in the packages?
Sure, so it depends on the package. Some packages include more meals than others. And then as far as the train goes, whenever you folks are on board the train and you do take the roomette or the bedroom accommodations, the meals are included on board the train with those accommodations.
So we have a question from Julie and Tim. Are some of the vacation packages mentioned one way? Do people then make arrangements to fly home?
Yeah, great question. So a lot of the packages that we saw today are one way. They'll start in Chicago, end in Seattle, for example. You can certainly make arrangements to fly home. In that case, you very well may want to reach out to your local travel agent if you need some assistance with booking the flights back home.
We have a question from Sally. So this is a question for Colleen. Of all the routes, which one is your absolute favorite?
Oh, it's like asking me to pick a favorite child. It's a really good question, though. There are, pros and cons to every route. Every route has some amazing scenery. I really enjoyed the trip to the Grand Canyon and Sedona, but I think probably my favorite scenery was on that Coast Starlight train in California.
So we have a question from Christy. If you want to leave from Chicago, do you need to do the overnight packages in Chicago or just board on the day it leaves?
Perfect question, especially if you're in the Chicago area. A lot of our packages or a lot of the trains leave from Chicago at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so you don't necessarily have to do an overnight in Chicago as long as you get to the city, with plenty of time to board that train.
We have a question from Marilyn. I just like train travel. Do you have any all-train trips or nearly all trains?
Perfect. So the rail experiences, we actually came out with a whole line of packages this year, very much focused around the train. So as you saw on the Northern Rail experience, we don't actually include hotel in Chicago in that one. As the previous question mentioned, we just start you out there in the afternoon. And it's really focused around rail travel. There are a few times where you do have to get off the train and do an overnight just simply to make your schedules line up to catch the next train, but those are really definitely train focused, the rail experience packages.
So we have a question from Mary. When do you have to take the trip if you use the discount and book by August 3rd? So, Mary, the discount, so it has to be booked by August 3rd, but you can use it for any of our 2017 packages that are now available. So if you want to travel the end of this year, maybe you're planning ahead for early next year, you can certainly take advantage of that discount on select independent rail vacations that we have. We have a question from Lee. Is there Wi-Fi on the train?
Great question. It depends on the train route. So for example, the Coast Starlight typically does have Wi-Fi available, where the California Zephyr, where it's going through all those mountains, a lot of the times they don't have it available for the entire ride. So it depends on the route.
We have a question from Carol. Are there any webinars on East Coast trips? So Carol, actually just a few weeks ago we did one on the top cities of the Northeast. So if you are interested in traveling to the East Coast, you want to take a look at that. That webinar was recorded and it is posted on our blog. So it's amtrakvacations.com/blog. We have a question from Camille. Do your dining options accommodate vegetarians or vegans?
Great question. So Amtrak definitely does have a vegetarian option on all of their menus. And then for any more specialized diets like vegan, you would just want to speak with the folks in the dining car, on what's available to you.
Question from Allie. Are towels provided for the cabins, for the sleepers?
Yes. Yep. So if you do have a roomette or a bedroom, they do have, sheets, pillows, blankets, and as well towels for the showers.
Question from Barb. Are there extra fees if you customize a package?
No, absolutely not. No, if you guys want to put together a package that's a little bit more customized than some of the ones that we feature, there's no fee for that at all.
We have a question from Vilma. Do you have any trains that leave from the West Palm Beach or Florida area?
Sure thing. So there are Amtrak connections in the West Palm Beach area, so we could certainly get you on a train headed up north to make another connection in Washington or Chicago or New York or wherever you're interested in traveling to.
Question from Carol. Are there standards for how much luggage you can bring onto the train or put in your luggage?
Sure thing. So it varies by route. So again, it's going to depend on which of the packages you choose, but Amtrak does have carry-on baggage as well as checked baggage on some of the routes. Now Amtrak has very generous allowances for baggage, so it's not like an airline. You get 2 carry-on bags plus a personal item on every route, and then where it's available, you could also check 2 bags where checked baggage is available.
We have a question from Jean. Can you do a personal package starting from Minneapolis, St. Paul to the West Coast?
Sure thing. So if you were looking at maybe that Glacier National Park package instead of starting in Chicago, you could certainly start in Minneapolis, St. Paul. We could also do Minneapolis, St. Paul out to the West Coast and then down, through California. Whatever you're looking for, we can make it work for you.
We have a question from Carol. Are the hotels with the packages picked by you, or do we get to pick the hotels?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. So we do have several hotels available in each destination. So depending on what your preference is, we can make it customized to you. But we do vet all of our hotels to make sure that they're in great locations for the train station as well as for sightseeing in each city.
Question from Barb. Are transfers included between the Amtrak station and the hotel accommodation Amtrak includes in the package?
Sure. So Barb, it depends on the package. So for example, the Grand Canyon trip, there actually is a transfer included in Williams to get to that hotel. But for some of the other trips, we don't include it because the hotels are so close to the train station. They're typically within 1 or 2 miles from the train station, so most folks will just pick up a short taxi ride there from the station.
We have a question from Robert. I want to travel from Tucson, Arizona to Seattle, but I've been told I need to transfer between trains via a bus in California. Is there a way to do this trip entirely by train?
Sure. I'd have to check the schedule for you, Robert, but you should be able to take the train from Tucson into Los Angeles and then change trains there in Los Angeles to head up to Seattle. But definitely call your local travel agent or one of our specialists here, and they can look at that routing for you.
Question from Alton. Are meals included if you select coach instead of a sleeper?
No problem, Alton. So the meals are not included with the coach ticket. However, you certainly can visit the dining car and order off the menu, or you could just go to the snack car and grab a quick bite to eat there.
We have a question from Monique. Do any of the vacations include a visit to any wineries?
Actually, our Californian package does have that day trip out to Napa and Sonoma Valley. So that package does include visits and wine tastings at the wineries.
And just a reminder too, Mike, you can certainly customize any of our vacation packages that we have. So if you do want to do the wineries and add that on to any trip, any of our packages going to San Francisco, we can certainly add that tour on for you too. Definitely amazing to check out in Napa Valley there. We have a question from Lynn. How can I find out which tours would work best for disabled or wheelchair, includes activities off the train?
That is a fantastic question. I would definitely recommend calling your local travel agent or giving us a call here to recommend the best trips for you.
We have a question from Carol. Is there a way you can ride the train from Houston to Las Vegas?
Sure, Carol, we can definitely make an itinerary for you. That's not a problem. There may be some connections involved there. The train doesn't actually go right into Las Vegas, but we could certainly work something out for you.
We have a question from Jackie. Is there a train from Seattle back to Chicago without going through California?
Sure. If you wanted to go Seattle to Chicago, of course, that Empire Builder train runs directly there from Seattle to Chicago. Or you could make the connection through California down to the Zephyr or the Southwest Chief or the Texas Eagle.
So it looks like that's all we have time for questions today. So if anyone else does have any questions that we didn't get a chance to get to today, you can certainly go ahead, give us a call at 1-800-AMTRAC2. You can also reach out to your local travel agent. So I want to say thank you so much again, everyone, for taking the time, joining us today. Hope you all enjoyed our presentation, and you all have a wonderful day.
Thank you.